Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Thursday, July 16th. So, one more day of the week to go. And theme of the day, I would say, is earnings chop is among us. And if you look over to the left of your screen, you can see that the S&P down a little bit today, 30 basis points. The Q's down a little bit more. Let me just mute my speakers. Qs were down a little bit more. They finished down 68 basis points. They're down a little bit more with Netflix reporting. We'll talk about them in just a second. And yeah, it was kind of a blah, blah, blah day. There wasn't very much of a range in the indices. I know single stocks are different and you can find trades moving around, but we always like to start with the indices first to see what they're doing. And this was really like a tight range. There was a little bit of Qs. Buying on the dip this morning, or buying on the dip, I guess this afternoon. But overall, not a major move in the major indices. And I do think I don't like to make predictions. You guys know that if you've been watching my videos for a while, is I don't really like to make predictions. I like to watch the price action and watch some of the indicators under the hood and see if I can find some clues that way. I watch a lot of I take a look at a lot of sentiment as well to try to help me position wisely and not be on the wrong side of what I should be doing when sentiment is too high and when sentiment is too low. We like to counter off of that. So I'm going to talk about a couple of those things, but let's talk about Netflix first. So I thought there's always things to learn. I think that I've been really trying in my videos and in the trading room that I manage at the Tribeca Trade Group. I really try to kind of slow things down a little bit and provide as many details, because I think it is what it is. There's a lot of newer traders that are giving this a shot this year, because of the conditions that we have this year. People are at home, and it's great to see traders, new people come to the market and learn. But there's a lot of things to learn, right? I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and there's a lot of lessons to learn. So one of the things that I've been talking about, which I find funny, right? I try to have a little bit of fun during the daytime and poke fun at things, but I always poke fun at sell side analysts. I came from a big bank. I worked at Merrill Lynch for a long time, and I just know how it works. And I actually started off my career at a place called Dean Witter before they were acquired by Morgan Stanley, which now is just the name Morgan Stanley. I'm showing my age here, but I think it's relevant. But I know what happens behind the scenes, and analysts, they're smart people, but they don't have crystal balls. So, the fact that all of them are jumping over one another to raise price targets in all the FANG stocks and in the growth stocks, as I've said and have been saying for the last couple of weeks, do not think that they know what's going to happen. You could use what they're doing, like in the morning when we get, street high price target for Amazon and a street high price target for Netflix and for Google, and then, for PayPal and for all the other growth names that are out there too. You can use that to kind of position and trade a little bit for that day, short-term trading. But they don't know anything. No, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just so that you don't think that just because someone slapped a street high price target on a name, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and they're not trading. So it's very different. Like those analysts, that, right? They don't trade. They're basically just analyzing numbers. Now, there's a big discrepancy between trying to put out, engage what a company does, EPS and sales and so forth, versus what actually happens. So I know some people who have been trading for a while. They know this, right? They know how the game works, but they also want the credentials too. When somebody comes out and puts a street high price target, the analyst gets recognition for going out on a little bit of a limb. So anyway, I just thought, because we're just starting earnings season, Netflix is the first one, but I would not read into that too, because we've been seeing all these price targets for Amazon, and by the way, and Amazon has come down pretty decently. I think I talked about that yesterday in the trading room. But if we look at the 1 hour, so let's talk about the implications of this. First of all, one of the things that I said, and I'll show you my trade that I did for Netflix, which it's going to be a little bit difficult to see if if it ends up working. But what I did was I was selling premium. So let's see if I can pull up my trade here really quickly. This should be in the earnings channel. But I sell premium and fade. Interesting that this third quarter has had some, I don't know if there's anything to that, but I kind of noticed that today is that this July quarter has a little bit of volatility to it, but who knows? I don't know if that's the case. But one of the things that I was talking about, and here's my trade. I need Netflix. I sold an out of the money call spread, and so I'm collecting premium. It's called credit spreads. It's called an iron condor. And I sold an out of the money put spread. So I actually need Netflix to get back above 495. So that might be tough. You can see it's going to the bottom of value. Interesting how that happens with our indicator that we use, the Tribeca Trade Group Market Webs. So it looks like that is showing. So it looks like I may have needed to go a little bit further in that put spread, but I tried to do that. By the way, the range was 488, so it looks like this is a bigger move than what the market makers. So I was expecting a little bit less of a move, so it looks like I was wrong with that. And I would have liked to go a little bit further out of the money, but I just couldn't collect enough. Right? By selling the spread, I collected $3, and I thought if I went down further, like the 485, 475, I think I would have only been able to collect about like $1.80 or something like that, because I did check some strikes. So what I thought, it'll be interesting what they say in the conference call. As always, that's the most important thing. But are they even can they even make new programming under with the lockdown that we're facing? I'm sure obviously there's no movies coming out. How are they going to keep up with original programming? So I think that's why my guess is, and we'll hear more about this, but my guess is that's why they brought in their estimates. They probably can't make as many movies, right? Or original programming. It's going to be hard. So that's kind of what I was saying. I did send out a video to members before while I constructed this trade idea, and it was one of the things that I mentioned. I was like, how are they going to put out new content with this, with the situation that we're under. So the implications of this, I see a lot of people worried about what the Qs are going to do. Well, Netflix is only 2% of the Qs, so just bear that in mind. Will the Qs be impacted a little bit? Yeah, I mean, some of the FANG names are going to go down a little bit, but here's what the 1 hour chart looks like. Just put things in perspective, right? We've been seeing, right now that we've been talking about rotation the last couple days, we're hearing that more and more in the financial media, but this is very normal. Especially when one group has outperformed so decently more than others. So it's natural for this to come in. And please put this in perspective too, because I think there's too many traders that are thinking that the market is just going to continue to go straight up. The Qs are up 23% year to date, even with this little pullback we've had in the Qs the last couple of days. This is an extraordinary number, considering that we have a pandemic on our hands. So, and if you look at the performance of SPY, for example, SPY is up 1% year to date. So we've been blessed by this market all year long. Put that in perspective. This is not a normal thing for the market to go straight up like this, right? And we've been talking about the implications of this. So welcome. So if you can play smart here a little bit, and again, this video is for information purposes only. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not giving out recommendations. But don't you think you want to let some of these things come in a little bit? And then you can kind of act like a ninja and try to get some of these things. But if you're pressing here and you're wondering why all the software names are pulling back and so forth, first of all the software names are kind of moving as a group. There's a couple standout names, but they're gonna, after a big run up, they get heated and they pull back a little bit. So I've talked about this already a couple times this week, but let it, and the other thing, even with both with the Qs and with the software ETF, they really haven't come in that far, and they're still holding support. Like, I think as long as this IGV ETF holds 277.76, the uptrend is very much intact, and we'll see. We haven't really gotten a bounce off of this yet, but it takes a little bit of time, especially after a huge run like we've had and the rotation that we're seeing. Same thing in the Qs. I think the Qs can, the Qs are holding the 20-day moving average, which is here, which is a nice proxy, but I could see them come down a little bit further too. And then the other thing to think about too is, I said in this in the theme of the day is that typically that earning season is, and again, this I've talked about this in the Sunday video, but I'm going to say it again. Around earning season, it's difficult to trade. Just as we saw we didn't see a lot of momentum. We saw a lot of chop today. I'm not saying that every day is going to be chop, but I think that's what you're going to see until all the heavy hitters have reported. It's a very difficult to trade because it's a different set of circumstances. So I don't particularly like earning season. I'll construct some trades around it, but I would rather like get earning season over as quick as possible. Because it holds up things, right? Because everybody's looking and so forth. So try to, as much as possible. Now, as I always say, because I run a trading room, I'm going to participate and so forth. But try to watch your position size around this time because it's tricky, right? And it's very tricky to trade. The more that we are trading sideways, and the more that there's chop, the more you are going to get chopped up trading options. So again, I'm not telling you what to do, but for me, I will really try. And again, it's a matter of discipline, but I will really try to trade less and less options, unless I'm taking like a shot on something, a small shot. But I try to trade less and less options when the market is choppy, because you will just get chopped up to death. And if the market is choppy and you're trading stock, it's like, no big deal. But if you're trading options in a choppy market, you're in big trouble, right? Unless you're selling premium. So just keep that in mind and let some of these moves play out. The home builders were lovely today. This is a trade that I've been talking about for a bit. So again, see some of these things that are acting different. My target, and I did put on, I talked about the home builders the last couple of days. I finally put the trade on today, and I'm looking at a target of 49.50. So I'm not looking for like outrageous moves here, but I'm in some stock, right? I've been trading in and out of Home Depot a lot. Home Depot is breaking out, but it looks like it's checking back a little bit. But, I think there's definitely some opportunities in some things, but just make sure that I also put on an Etsy trade today because they're talking about wearing more and more face masks in different states that weren't mandating that before. Etsy makes, it's one of the things that they do, and this APT was another name that some people were playing today, even though it does have that resistance, which it's try to get through today, of 1891. It popped out there outside of value. Looks like it closed above, but I think Etsy is a nice way. And again, this is not a cheap name, but as long as you're being disciplined with your stops, you can try trades and participate. I have, I think, a 102 stop in this one, and I want to see if it bounces here with all these mask mandates. So that's that, and it looks like might be selling off here. Maybe that's after hours with Nasdaq's down. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably on light volume. So that's that. What else? Like I said, I always show you all my trades in the room. That'll kind of, yeah, and then like things like Nvidia that I've been trying to like, I'll trade. I'll definitely day trade a little bit more. I just will try to avoid options as much as possible, because if we do get chop, This got into value. I hit one target. I'm still wearing some, and I don't mind doing that a little bit too. Basically starting a day trade, and if it works, I do want to keep the last piece on. So 404, and I got 408 on this, and I'm still wearing that one. And then of course, like I forced myself out of some trades too. Any option trades, like at this point, right? Tomorrow is monthly option expiration. I don't want any August exposure, unless I'm just trading something overnight. But I don't want any swing trades because that's where the theta decay is the largest, right? It's always you're swimming against the tide if you own August options because of the high theta decay. DKNG, this was a name I knew that they were going to pump this on in financial media, but I did go long this name this morning. And why? Because it's got some room up to 37, and I think that's enough of a trade. And then also you have these up here, 38 and 39. But I like this break out of this little sideways action here for DraftKings. So yeah, really you have this resistance, first level of resistance 37, and then if it manages to kind of get into value there a little bit, you've got some 1 hour levels. So that's it for now. I've been keeping these videos have been a little bit longer than the normal. Is there any other? Was there another trade that I wanted to discuss? Caterpillar, I tried that. This was a trade that worked really well earlier in the week. Not so good today. I got a little bit greedy. And I'm in August. Speaking of August options, so I got to get out of this trade probably tomorrow. But I'm looking for this thing to get to 144. So it's really tough to have patience in short-term option plays, which again, August is short-term options. So you could use them to day trade, but I put this trade on here and I was like, on the offer and I couldn't get filled. So, that's the deal with options sometimes. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.